I was a flight attendant for a regional airline and worked on board Embraer 145S. My jump seat was against the wall separating the flight deck, so I could often hear things happening in there, most commonly audible warnings from the plane. I eventually learned not to be concerned when I heard things like glide slope, and wind shear. So one night, it's pretty late, and we're flying from Denver to Durango. It's usually a bit turbulent because of the mountains, and it wasn't uncommon for us to be warned ahead of time. This time, I had been told to get up under no circumstances, strap in and enjoy the ride. 15 minutes into the flight, it's pitch black because I have the lights off. It's so turbulent, I'm convinced we're going to bounce into a mountain. I start hearing alerts from the flight deck. At one point, there was a rapid series of dings, and then it felt like we were sideways and dropped 1,000 feet. People were screaming and crying, and honestly, that is one moment in my career where I thought, this is how I die. We eventually land safely, and everyone is shaken, including the pilots. Turns out, we were getting bounced around so much, it had kicked our autopilot off, and it wouldn't re-engage. It also knocked the APU around enough that it was messed up enough to be replaced. We spent an hour at the airport logging all of the maintenance issues. I work for a national airline that mostly operates regional destinations. Mostly we use single aisle planes. There is only 2 galleys, the front and the back. The front galley is close to the cockpit, thus it has an installed CCTV unit there for the pilots to monitor activities around the cockpit's door. After 9/11, everything had to be installed for extra precaution. During a flight at cruising altitude, the captain called the lead in. Why do you let the 2 kids play in front of the door of the cockpit? B737 is a small plane with the cockpit door close to the crew seats. The leading crew member with another member of crew sitting at the crew's seats denied any kids playing near the area. The seats are seated right next to the cockpit door, but the captain insisted he could see 2 kids, a boy and a girl, playing in front of the door through the CCTV. At this point, leading cabin crew was not too happy, thinking that their pilots are pulling pranks on them. After some time, Captain let it go and said never mind. When we touched down and got to the hotel, Captain pulled the leading crew aside, asking along with the first officer in tow. He insists to know if the leading and her crews really didn't see 2 kids playing in the front cockpit and the front galley. She maintained they didn't and said since the galley is so small anyways, she wouldn't miss the 2 kids playing. Both pilots went blank, then said both seen the kids playing right beside the front galley and wondered why they let them there. The leading cabin crew asked her team members if any of them saw the kids. All denied. To this day, no one knows who the kids were. It was a transatlantic flight, and halfway through the flight, near the back of the plane, the overhead bin started raining maggots on all the passengers in one row. One of the other flight attendants on the plane investigated and discovered that a passenger had flown in from Africa and was travelling to the US via Europe. This passenger had a whole dead fish filled with maggots wrapped inside a newspaper. Apparently, it's considered a delicacy in some parts of the world. They wound up leaving the closed suitcase in one of the bathrooms and locked the door until everyone disembarked after landing. Some people are afraid of crashing. Not me. I'm just afraid of maggot rain. The captain had us secure the cabin early for landing, as we were expecting some bad crosswinds. We secured, and I took my jump seat with another flight attendant in the back. On approach, the wind was gusting so bad that my seatmate and I were being whipped from side to side pretty severely. We were both pretty scared, as this was the most violent landing either of us had had experience. She grabbed my hand, and we held hands until we were sure we weren't going off the runway.